Hello folks, I am back. It is time for some hobby nightmares. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. Please help out the channel by subscribing. It really does help me out. And also the Patreon is down below because it's my first Patreon read for a while because it is my birthday today. So, you know, happy birthday to me. Hello, yes. I am older, shall we say. I'm a year older. I'm 36. What's going on? Where are the years going? When I started this channel, I was like 33? 2? Anyway, I'm getting older, so if you want to help out your old pal Northern Exile, get a pint this weekend, then maybe head over to Patreon and, you know, give us a couple of quid to go towards a nice glass of warm coffee or a nice glass of beer. That will be doing swimmingly this weekend. Anyway, let's move on to our hobby nightmares, shall we? If you want to send in any hobby nightmares, make sure you do it to hobbynightmares@gmail.com. It is in the description down below. Please don't comment on videos saying where do I send these? It's literally there. If you go down in the description down below, first place you should go, it's right there, every single video, alright? That's where you send them in. Anyway, Rob C says, "Howdy North, it's been a while, but I'm finally able to get back into the hobby following my hectic move. Unfortunately, many of my Sisters of the Valorous Heart were sacrificed upon the altars of Amazon and eBay, but I managed to avoid homelessness until getting a new job and home. I even found a few hobby stores here to try out." Listen, it never ceases to amaze me. The, shall I say, the perseverance of people in the world, right? When life gets you down, when you're about to be homeless, what this guy did was, look, I don't need this Warhammer anymore, I'm going to sell it, I'm going to start again. Absolutely heroic work, dude. Like, you're doing the God's work, man. You're doing really, really well. Get out there, do your thing, and yeah, awesome, brilliant stuff. This is a horror story at one of those stores where I did absolutely nothing wrong. Okay. Normally when people say that to me, they've done everything wrong, but we'll see. Since moving here, I haven't had much of a social life since I work full-time and all of my friends are on Discord. I've looked into events and stuff online to meet people, and I found a local tech expo going on. Figuring I could possibly find better employment, I decided to look into their Facebook page and coordinate with people to go with, so I don't just wander around like the antisocial weirdo that I am. Enter someone I'll call Louisa. Louisa and I began chatting since we both had similar goals in mind, escape our mid-jobs for proper tech work, with her having a background in web design and the like. We ended up having a good time, mostly bitching about how awful Indeed and LinkedIn are for trying to find work and how crappy employers are about trying to trick us into working for free as auditions, quote unquote. Yeah, happens all the time. I shit you not, man. Like, back in the day, companies used to do something like this, and let me know if they still do it. I don't know. I've not been in the job market for a while because I've been employed or self-employed for quite a while now. But what they used to do is they would advertise for a job, right, in the local paper or online or whatever, and you'd apply for that job, and then they'd say in the interview, "You got the job." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, have you ever heard of telesales?" No, what's that? Well, you call people up and you try and, you know, sell them things? Yes. Well, that's what you're going to be doing. But your thing says I'm going to be like the head of IT. Yeah, head of IT. Selling IT things to people. Like, no, dude, no. I literally had one guy call me up and offer me a job like that after I'd been in an interview in Liverpool with 15 other people, and we were all given the job, right? And one guy, I'll never forget, he looked like Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? And he'd walked out of the room where they were doing like the private talk part of the interview in a full suit. You know, he came in expecting a job. He walked out laughing and shaking his head and walked straight out. And that's when I knew, okay, something's weird here. You know what I mean? You know, something's not right, because he did literally walk straight out of the place just laughing and shaking his head. Turns out that guy basically he gave me a job in telesales. Again, I was supposed to be working for a company in an office, doing office work, like, you know, normal admin stuff, and I got telesales, and I was like, yeah, that's not what I applied for. I don't want the job, right? And this guy was cheeky enough to tell me, oh, so you enjoy being unemployed then, over the phone. Now, that's how shitty they are. To which I said, no, I just want to apply for the job that I actually applied for. Thank you, right? And put the phone down, and that was it. That's how bad they are. Auditions, it's fucking illegal, dude. You shouldn't be doing it. Anyway, needless to say, we got along. As we talked about work, I found out that this absolute 10 of a woman was also a prostitute. No big deal to me, but this will be important later. Okay, so she wants to get out of her line of work and get into an actual job. Good for her. Good for her, you know? It's yeah, good for her. She's getting out of the life. She wants to go and do an actual job. No problem. Fast forward a few weeks of hanging out. We're talking about sci-fi stuff, and she asks me if I've ever played a game called Warhammer 40,000. Apparently, she was quite the fan in college, and when you make $10,000 to $15,000 a week, you can afford the odd box of Eldar. Yeah, it's how she's earning that $10,000 to $15,000 a week is. We then began laughing since we both played Space Elves and had the idea to go to one of the game stores and find an open play table. Okay, cool. So, we go to this table. Louisa and I go Craftworld and Drukhari against two guys playing Imperial Guard and Imperial Guard. As we're playing, the store manager apparently recognised Louisa from her job. Oh no. Eventually he came over and, in simple terms, accused me of hiring a prostitute to learn 40k to come with me and do 2v2 games at the store, and it was highly inappropriate. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. I can think of better things to pay a prostitute for than learning 40k and just coming in and playing a war game with me. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, that was that. I just coughed down the microphone. Sorry. That is hilarious. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Oh god. He went from 0 to 100 there. I'm confused, since prostitution is legal here, and Louisa is just dressed like a normal person. Oh, see, she didn't hire a number 1, and number 2, she's dressed like a normal person. I tried telling him she was just my friend, and we came here to game, but he still said it was inappropriate to bring a working girl into his store and asked us to leave. I told him I couldn't even afford to hire her even if I wanted to, but he would not budge. I love that was your argument. That was your argument. I can't afford this. I can't afford this woman. What are you doing on about? Anyway, not a full minute after he leaves, while we are still packing up our models and Louisa is doing her best impression of a tomato. Don't know. Oh, right, she's gone red. Okay. The two guys were playing fire up their simp engines and trying to hire her on the spot. One of them even said something inviting her to his Slaneshi cult. I don't remember the exact words, just that he tried to win her with a Slaneshi reference. Credit to the woman, she didn't immediately beat them with a hard case of models. We decided to just go get drinks and watch movies at my place and agreed to never go back to the hobby store ever again. Anyway, that's been my first horror story in 2024, but I do have a gaming buddy to play with at home, and I've been meeting more people out and about. Thanks for all your work providing neat videos to listen to. Cheers and happy wargaming. Right, okay. Here's the thing. So, if this girl is so hot and cool and likes the hobby, right, is the only reason you're not trying anything with her because she's a prostitute, right? Again, that's a big reason. That is a big reason, right? And girls who are doing that kind of thing generally are broken in more ways than one. But if she's trying to get out of her life and she's putting herself together, right? What's to stop you from just, like, trying normally to not be a John, not, like, pay for her, but trying normally to, like, be with her? Like, if she wants to go and stop... If she's agreed to stop doing what she's doing, then would you go and be like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should give this a go? Maybe we should at least date for a bit, you know? Not be serious, but just date. I don't know. It just seems like you've got like a nice woman who's fallen into your lap there. And don't get me wrong, don't date a prostitute. For God's sake, don't do that, right? Don't do that. If she's currently working, don't do it. And it depends what kind she is. If she's like a street worker, no, dude, just walk away. You know what I mean? Just walk away. You don't need that. Whatever demons she's got are going to rear their head in your life and mess it up completely. You need to keep things nice and stress-free. But, if this woman's like a high-end escort or something, and she's getting out of the life, she had 2 or 3 clients that gave her a lot of money, but now she's not doing it anymore, that's a different set of kettle of fish, right? You know? So maybe that's something to look into. I don't know. I don't know your situation. You need to expand on it a little bit. From what I've seen so far, she seems like a normal girl who isn't like mental. So if you're pretty sure she's not mental and she's into the hobby and you're happy with her, she's hot, you know, and she's not doing the escorting anymore, ask her out. That's what I'm saying. Just have some fun, you know. She might know some tricks that may blow your mind. You never know. But the other thing is, right, the minute you get once you do this, if it works out, the minute you get any sniff of her doing her old tricks again, leave. Right? Go into it for a bit of fun at the start, you know, bit of companionship. But the minute, before it gets serious, the minute you feel like she's not being faithful or she's playing the game again, leave. Alright? Only get into that situation if you've got the mental fortitude to not get pussy drunk. Men, you know what I mean. You know what I mean, right? Some woman throws some insanely good sex at you and automatically you're like besotted with her. Be very careful, alright? But if this nice woman's fallen into your lap and she's lovely and everything's going well, you know, maybe give it a go. I don't know your situation. There are only very few situations like this where I would actually get involved in it, you know, and be like, oh, let's go dating, right? Those are my parameters. I'm just putting the idea in your head. You know, you may not, or just be friends. It's always good to be around somebody who's hot and is friendly, but you never know if this woman's going to be leaving that life behind forever and she meets another guy who's of the same standard as you and then she gets with him. That would make you feel like shit, right? So maybe tell me more about the situation and I can give you some proper advice there, because it seems like she's a nice girl. Anyway, moving on. Holy Roller says, hey North, hey man, how's it going? I recently discovered your channel getting into 40k and your Hobby Nightmares videos have triggered Vietnam-like flashbacks of some of the deranged and stupid things I've seen in my 12 years of tabletop gaming. The most recent mind-boggler drove me away from tabletop RPGs and into the arms of Warhammer. Okay, well, it's not bad arms to be in. They're expensive arms to be in. But we've already had one story like that today, so there we go. Prior to getting into Warhammer this last year, I was very much a huge RPG nerd. I've been DMing and playing D&D and Pathfinder for over a decade now. Fantasy is one of my favourite games, and role-playing games have always been like heroin to me. I just couldn't get that needle out of my arm. Okay, took a dark turn there. I'm going to take a sip of tea after that. Some of the writing choices, man, are a bit, you know, I get these euphemisms sometimes from the writing, and it's like, you just step back and go, oh, oh, well, that's what he meant. Anyway, I'll continue reading. About a year ago, though, I had just ended a very long and grueling D&D campaign that I had been DMing. I don't really enjoy D&D anymore, as the rules and character and customization are a bit lacking in my opinion, and whilst Pathfinder is always a blasty blast, I was craving something new. Enter Cyberpunk Red. Yes! Yes, one of the best tabletop RPGs on the market, man, bar none. I had just gotten done playing 2077, and it had reawoken a love for the genre I hadn't felt since watching stuff like Ghost in the Shell back in the day. Knowing that Cyberpunk originated as a tabletop and a new edition of the tabletop RPG had come out alongside 2077, I immediately started looking for a community to join as a player, and luckily I found a pretty cool Cyberpunk Red Discord server, and it was the breath of fresh air that I was looking for. The community was very dedicated to the game, requiring players to create very fleshed out characters with interesting backstories. Character sheets had to be reviewed to make sure the rules were being followed, as well as to weed out people that tend to write, my character is a 9 million IQ super genius cyborg that gets laid and gets paid and never gets hit in battle characters. Yeah. Those are the Cyberpunk equivalent to the Mary Sues, or the Marty Stews. The Game Masters are also vetted pretty harshly, as they were expected to take intricate notes of player actions and collaborate with other GMs on the server to integrate stories into each other, player actions, and ultimately make the world feel like a living, breathing world where interesting roleplay naturally manifested due to the collaboration of the GMs. For example, it was very common for player interactions with NPCs to be noted by the GM and then added to a notes channel GMs had access to. Other GMs would then integrate or reference those actions in their campaigns, which really made role-playing feel organic, even when playing with an entirely different group or GM. It truly made the world feel alive. That's really clever. That is really clever. I really like the way they've done that. That's really cool. Excellent stuff. Anyway, after seeing this community and how amazing it was, I created my character, got it approved, and started signing up for gigs. Gigs are quests, if you don't know in Cyberpunk terms. A month goes by and my character has a few gigs under his belt. I'm thoroughly enjoying the game, and I just got picked to run a game with a few people. The Game Master was an excellent GM, and the other 3 players were all incredibly chill people. This particular game, we had spectators, as other players are allowed to join the Roll20 session and Discord voice channel to hear and see what is going on. They are not allowed to talk in voice for obvious reasons, but can still use the channel chat to communicate or comment with each other about the game. Okay, cool. I wouldn't allow that myself. I wouldn't allow any sort of distraction to the players at all. That's not something that I would do. Online role-playing has enough distractions as it is. I don't like it. I prefer in face-to-face is how you should role-play, to be honest with you. But if you're going to do it online, you need to keep the distractions to a minimum. And a chat being there that everybody can read is not good. Like, you don't want that there, If you're being live-streamed on Twitch and there's a chat there, you can switch the stream off. But if they're in your game typing in the chat of the game, yeah, man, that's going to be distracting as hell. I'd hate that. Anyway, one of the other 3 players had a cyborg character whom we lovingly referred to as Brick. Brick was an absolute unit of a character. He was all... Yeah, Brick is actually a Maelstrom guy in Cyberpunk 2077, is he not? Isn't he the old boss that you can save? I'm not sure, I can't remember. I just remember Jackie saying, "Hey, I know this fool, it's Brick." Anyway. One of the other 3 players had a cyborg character whom we lovingly referred to as Brick. Brick was an absolute unit of a character. He was a mostly borged out PC who was suffering from the onset of cyberpsychosis. For those of you not in the know, cyberpsychosis is a condition that afflicts people who have replaced most of their body with cybernetics, and it has in-game consequences that manifest in various ways. Well, Brick was pretty far gone with his psychosis, and he roleplayed it phenomenally well. This led to very interesting and sometimes unhinged role-playing with his character. During the campaign, Brick was with my character as we were trying to gather intelligence in a little night market in Night City. He failed the cyberpunk equivalent of a charisma check, and being the beast of a role-player he is, he ran with the failure and role-played it very well. All of the players, including myself, were having a blast, bouncing off of his insane character, and the GM seemed to be really enjoying the interaction as it continued. After the in-character conversation was over, Brick began speaking out of character and made a joke about how unstable his character was, and made the following joke. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. One thing I will say is, it's the true hallmark of an amazing role player when they can roleplay failure. Role-playing success is easy, because you're always, you're always in there, planning to be successful. But being able to roleplay failure is an amazing thing. Like, that's a really, really top skill level thing. Anyway, after the in-character conversation was over, Brick began speaking out of character and made a joke about how unstable his character was and made the following joke, and I quote, "With how bad my character is at social interactions, I think I may need to get him a hat that says, please be patient, I have robotism," unquote. The whole group laughs and we continue playing. Fair enough. Well, about 30 minutes later, a moderator for the Discord server hops in, grinding the game to a halt. He says that there was a comment made earlier that really upset one of the spectators, of course. Turns out, one of the spectators was offended by the robotism comment and typed in the text channel demanding that all of us stop and apologise to him. Of course, we weren't paying attention to the text channel because it is mainly there for people to talk with each other whilst they watch or listen to the game, and we were just in the moment enjoying our silly little cyberpunk adventure. Apparently, us not responding only angered this person more, and they had the audacity to write, "Well, if you won't all apologise, I guess people like me just aren't welcome here." The person, who I now lovingly refer to as Dimwit, immediately got into contact with a buddy of his who happened to be a GM and mod here on the server. Now, I get it. I understand that jokes can sometimes be taken as mean-spirited, but as someone who is clinically on the spectrum, even I have the social skills to understand Brick was just being funny and not doing it to make someone feel unloved or unwelcome. Hell, I'd even argue that to even be as into these kinds of games as the community is, everyone in that game was probably a bit on the spectrum themselves somewhere along the line. Oh well. Even though I disagreed with the person, I decided it wasn't worth it to die on that hill. I didn't apologise because I didn't feel like laughing at the joke, that laughing at the joke was wrong, but I just dropped the matter, as did everybody else in the group, and we continued the session even though the tone and the mood had taken a serious nosedive off of a cliff. Perturbed but not dissuaded, I forgot the whole matter until a few days later I was informed that myself and Brick were no longer welcome to play with a couple of the GMs or in any game Dimwit, or Chucklefuck as I now felt about him, was involved in. That's fine. Do you know what? They're being dicks about it, but if they want to keep you away because they're all assholes and they're going to get offended by every single little thing you do, good. They've gatekept for you, is what they've done, right? You should have gatekept them away from your hobby time. Getting that message, just send one back saying, the feeling's mutual. You're banned from all games that I'm involved in. If I turn up and you're there, I'll just leave, right? If somehow there's a mistake that happens, and one of you, the people on that list, those GMs that don't like me, or that Dimwit who doesn't like me, if any of you are in my games even by accident, I'll grind the game to a halt, call you out, and leave. Feelings mutual. That's all you need to do. Feelings mutual, dickhead. See you later. Alright? Good. They've gatekept themselves. Brilliant. This really didn't sit right with me. I know, man. Like, I know, but they've done your work for you. The trash has taken itself out. Alright? This really didn't sit right with me, especially considering I didn't even make the joke to begin with, and I felt Dimwit demanding an apology from me for laughing was ridiculous. After that, it just felt like a struggle to get games, and it ultimately was the straw that broke the camel's back when it came to tabletop RPGs. My Cyberpunk Red character was one of the most detailed characters I've ever made, and I put a lot of time and effort into his backstory and concept art. Well, this is the thing. Little snowflakes like this are ruining our tabletop RPG hobby. I will say that. They're ruining it. They're absolutely ruining it. I've had people turn up to Vampire the Masquerade games and get offended. It's like, dude, that is not the game you're playing. If you play Vampire the Masquerade, you are in for it, mate. You know, you're in for some weird ass shit. And that's what you're here for. Same thing goes for anything. It's called the Dark Future. Okay? I'm playing Zweihander right now, and the fact that at the start of its thing it says, oh, everybody's welcome here, everybody. But we know, mate. But you're a grimdark setting. We're supposed to be exploring adult themes. Why are you putting fox people in your rulebook? You know, I just don't get it. I don't get why you need to acquiesce to these absolute no-brain artards all the time. I don't understand it. You know? Build the hobby, and if they want to come in and partake in the hobby, they can. Build, and in tabletop RPGs, build your tabletop RPG, right? You know, and set out your stall what it is straight away. I always say this to new writers, to new people who are writing a tabletop RPG. I've had a few of them in my client list over the years. Always say the same thing. Make damn sure the first few like paragraphs or chapters even of your rulebook are explaining what your game is and explaining notes on equality and things like that, and what your world is like. Lay it all out, black and white, right at the start, so there's no room for people to whinge and moan. You know, I'm writing a setting and a game at the moment called Grimblade, which is going to be kind of like a grimdark fantasy RPG, right? But it's like it has 3 levels to it. So the first level is your normal standard D&D fare. You know, you're a party running around the world, getting into adventures, doing role-playing checks and things like that, right? Cool, awesome. And that runs very much like a normal tabletop role-playing game. But when you get into combat, it goes like Banner Saga and XCOM, right? So in combat, the players are playing a war game against the DM. That's how combat goes, right? And then you can zoom out even further, because then you can do armies as well. So there's an army game in there as well, where you can actually have armies on a grid fighting each other, that kind of a thing. So it's sort of like you're pulling back on the mouse, you know, like in an actual RPG or on a computer. That's how I'm writing the game. But it is a very grim, dark setting. And I say to people at the very start, listen, this is not a setting that treats everybody equally, right? If you're a woman in this setting, you're going to be treated rather poorly if you try to do anything other than manage a household. It's just going to happen. It's a medieval, grimdark setting. Women and men have a specific place in society, and if you don't conform to those roles, you will be shouted at by the NPCs. Alright? Does that mean you can't play a woman warrior? No. It just means you'll be challenged, and you know what? As a woman warrior, you will get more opportunities to get experience points, because you will have to roleplay a lot more in improving yourself as a warrior. You'll have to work twice as hard for half the respect. Right? It's just, that's how medieval times were. I'm sorry, that's how it was. And that's how it is in this setting as well, okay? Same thing goes for, you know, if you're not the same race as the people in the setting. They won't be racist to you, but they will be curious of who you are and where you come from. And if you're the kind of person who is playing an Ethiopian character, walking around medieval northern Germany, and you're offended by the fact that people are looking at you and going, hey, hello, where are you from? You shouldn't play this game, right? I say that front and center. You should never be insulted in this game for what for your race that you've chosen to play as, right? But you will get glances, you will get looks, and people will ask you where you come from out of sheer curiosity. Just like in the medieval ages, I even say it in here, like in the medieval ages, they didn't really care about race. And I back that up all the time. They didn't care that much about race. They did care about whether you're a Christian or not, though, right? They will ask you that first. Oh, you're not the same skin colour as us. Are you from a different place? Do they worship God there? And if you say yes, we worship the Christian God, they'll go, oh, welcome, brother. Okay, fine. Oh, tell me about your homeland. And it's fine, right? Literally how it would go in the medieval world as well. Ask any historian, they'll tell you. That's how it would go. They don't really give a shit about race. They do give a shit about whether you worship God or not. That's it. You know, and you worship him in the right way, the Christian way. You know, and that's the right way. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in the setting, people would think that's the right way to do it, right? So, always lay out your goalposts of what's expected in your game right at the start. Right at the start. The whole problem with this Hobby Nightmare here is I don't think that was done. You know, I don't think the expectations were given straight away, because it would feed out a lot of those snowflake GMs, and it would feed out the dimwit character here. Like, they would be gone. Straight, they wouldn't even play. They wouldn't even be involved. because you've already laid it out. I know, for an instance, people will pick up my book, they will pick up my setting, my game that I've created, and they will go, this isn't for me. You know? I don't want to be in a world like this. That's fine. Then put the book down and go and buy Dungeons and Dragons and have your hijinks with your fox people, you know, and your raging bisexual, pansexual, whatever it is, your blue-haired, whatever. Go and do that. That's your place, and I respect your right to have it. Go and have fun. But the game I'm writing isn't that. So if it's not for you, don't join the game and try and make it for you, because the actual rulebook says right at the start, the game is sacrosanct, it doesn't change. This is the world, and if you change the world in any way, you're playing it wrong. I'm sick of these games that tell you, do whatever you want with it. No, you're opening the door to dickheads. That's all you're doing. You're opening the door to people who are going to take your work and mess it and rip it up and say, no, now it's a realm of fox people. Or it's a, no. The setting I've created is mixed into the game. You can take my rules and do with them what you want. No problem, right? No problem with that at all. But the setting itself, if you want to play in this world, this is what it's like. Okay? All this world's got, it's like Tony Montana. It's got its word and its balls. And it doesn't break them for anybody, right? It's there, and that's what it is. As soon as you have clear, distinct pillars of what your game does and what your chosen system is going to do, right? People can choose to buy in or leave. And that's fine. The problem is, here, that didn't happen. And you've suffered the consequences of that, even though it wasn't your fault. Anyway, overall, he says, I feel the worst for Brick. That player had been in the server for some time and was one of the most interesting and fun player characters I've ever encountered in a tabletop RPG. It really bums me out that some nitwit with a victim complex snuffed out such a unique person on the server, but luckily it's not all doom and gloom. As I took a step back and realised I needed a change in general, and Warhammer has been an amazing hobby for me. Within my first year I painted 2,000 points of Skaven, 2,000 points of Stormcast Eternals, 1,500 points of Ossiarch Bone Reapers, and 2,000 points of Grey Knights Man of Culture for 40k. I'm also assisting my local Games Workshop manager with a Path to Glory campaign he is hosting for Age of Sigmar. I can't really blame Nitwit entirely for my divorce with tabletop RPGs, as it's painfully obvious to myself that I was a bit burnt out at that point, but maybe I should thank them because their poor attitude and complex ultimately gave me the kick in the pants I needed to start a new hobby that I actually enjoy. I appreciate what you do, and I wish you nothing but success, North. Have a good one. Sincerely, Holy Roller. Thank you very much, man. And I agree. It really does suck that you were put in that position and that things went that way for you. I wouldn't give up on tabletop RPGs altogether. As I've said in the past, a lot of your hobby, 90% of this hobby, whatever part of it you're into, whether it be role-playing games, whether it be Warhammer, whether it be whatever, you know, tiddlywinks, whatever you're playing, right? Choosing your opponent and the people you surround yourself with is 90% of the battle. That's why I made the point there about making sure that the expectations of your game and world are set out very clearly at the start. So, the people wanting to join your table are adjudicating their own time, they're gatekeeping their own time, they're thinking, hey, North's done a really cool setting here, I like this grim dark nature of it, I'm going to get involved. Or they go, that's a bit too on the nose for me, North, I quite like playing like a fox person who can dangle from chandeliers and have sex with dragons all the time, so I'm going to go over here and play this Shrek-like game in D&D. No problem. That's great. Off you go. Right? Everybody's welcome here. It's just, guys, not every part of this hobby needs to be for you. And not every person in this hobby needs to be for you. If they're not for you, walk away. Just walk away. Alright? That's all you need to do. You don't need to change their fun time to suit you. Alright? Anyway, love you all a long time. I will speak to you on Monday for some more hobby nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.